Hello and welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock. As usual, John Ramdeen and Robin Black are here, and we're going to be discussing today's news, including a report out that a well-known coach has filed for bankruptcy. Tim Kennedy has had a change of heart regarding his fighting future, and we have a new main event for the UFC's Tough Latin America finale card later this month. Earlier this week, it was revealed that an ankle injury was going to prevent Matt Brown from fighting Kelvin Gastelum on November 21st in Monterrey, Mexico. The fight was scheduled to headline the Tough Latin America finale event, but a new opponent has been found for Gastelum as Neil Magny will take the open spot and headline his first UFC event on less than 3 weeks' notice. Magny has already fought 4 times in 2015 and is coming off a win over Eric Silva from this past August. Tim Kennedy has not fought since September of last year, losing a controversial bout to Yoel Romero, where there were issues in regards to the amount of time Romero remained on the stool before the third round, where he finished Kennedy. Since then, Kennedy has been very outspoken about the UFC's deal with Reebok and very vocal about PED use within the sport. In a bit of a turnaround, Kennedy told Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour this week that he is looking to fight again and going after all of the prior PED users in the UFC. He did note during the chat that his management has been in talks with the UFC about fighting the winner of this weekend's fight between Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson. And finally, BloodyElbow.com's Paul Gift and John Nash have reported that Edmund Tarverdyan, the coach for Ronda Rousey and several other fighters, filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy this past July. In the documents released, Tarverdyan lists his income as $0 in gross wages and net income, holding no job and having over $700,000 in debt and only $3,300 in assets. Further to that, Tarverdyan reportedly transferred his interest in the Glendale Fighting Club gym. Tarverdyan is scheduled for a meeting on November the 16th to take the next steps in the bankruptcy proceedings. Tune in this coming Saturday night as we have our 1-hour pre-fight show kicking off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with John Ramdeen, Robin Black, and myself. We'll take a look at the entire main card, and then you can keep it locked on Fight Network at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as 4 fights are coming your way from Sao Paulo, Brazil, including Abel Trujillo against Gleison Tebow in lightweight action only on Fight Network in Canada. All right, we are here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We're going to get into some fights, but Ramdeen insisted that first we talk about what is a very bizarre case involving Edmund Tarverdyan, who this past summer filed for bankruptcy. And I mean, this is a very bizarre one. Someone that you associate with the biggest fighter in the world, and someone that says he has no income, over $700,000 in debt, and apparently has transferred his interest in his gym away. It's a very bizarre case. Obviously, this is very much out of the fighting world, but one that at least the people involved in this bankruptcy hearing, they also think it's a little strange.
Yeah, I think, though, when you look at the grand scheme of mixed martial arts, everybody thinks the UFC and millions of dollars. You talk to a lot of fighters, you talk to a lot of trainers out there, they ain't making any money. There's only a select few, but the idea that you're attached to Ronda Rousey, that you'd be making some serious cake.
Like you would consider, Robin, 10% is kind of standard fare, you would think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wonder about this one when I see us looking at it. Doesn't this guy kind of have a bit of a dicey vibe to him? Haven't we always kind of looked at him and thought, there's something
into Ronda's mom's
something about this guy? And so are we just kind of looking for things to support that? Like, I don't understand his finances. I don't understand my own finances. But are we looking at this to sort of, because we're like, there's something about this guy?
Yeah, that's
like,
what
is that what it is?
I think that's what it is.
Well, the fact that this is going to proceed and he will be under oath, as a lot of these statements are, something is going to come out regarding this in terms of whether this is legitimate, whether there's something strange going on, because he is claiming no income at all. And the fact that he can't even recall the last year he filed a tax return, which that is pretty alarming.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is whatever it is you do, if you are doing something that is becoming successful, you probably got to realize, oh man, people are going to dig into stuff.
Yeah.
Whether we think they should or not, they're gonna. So whether you are a famous singer or you're getting close or work in some way closely with somebody who's become world famous, people are going to dig on you. That's
All
a
right.
spooky thing.
Yeah, some very good reporting, though, I think, from Bloody Elbow about that story. But don't worry, John, we're going to get to fighting now, because this weekend, it's very strange. When you actually sit down and look at all the fights this weekend, the amount of rematches we are seeing this weekend between Bellator and, of course, Saturday night, headlined by Vitor Belfort and Dan Henderson. But I want to start with Bellator. I think this is a very important card as we get closer to it, because we have seen one thing that has worked in the Scott Coker era, and that has been stars from the past that have brought back an audience and done incredible viewership. And the argument has been, well, we need to focus on the stars of today, who are going to be carrying this promotion for years to come. This Friday's card very much is going to show us where the needle is in terms of where these current stars register with the audience. If this show tanks, I think it's a pretty bad sign in terms of where the current stars are in your Daniel Strausses, your Patricio Pitbulls, Michael Chandlers, Will Brooks. This is a showcase of the current top of the line talent that Bellator has.
And I completely understand that, but it still doesn't have the Scott Coker feel, because these were all stars that were in the Bellator organization before Coker came on board. I think you look at Pitbull and Daniel Straus. I don't know if a lot of people, when you look at Daniel Straus and his personality and his fighting style, is this a guy that can be a star? Well, if you look at his fighting abilities, yeah, he's one to watch for. He's entertaining in the sense that he has skills in all areas. He fights very, very hard. Pitbull is the guy that you have to look for. Very dynamic, has that fan-friendly style, can knock you out. That is a fighter that I think Bellator is hoping. Again, I'm sure they're not hoping for anything in particular, but they want to put on a thrilling match, and Pitbull's the guy that can deliver that fight, those types of fights. Same with Dave Rickles, same with Michael Chandler. It's a tailor-made fight. It comes down to Bobby Lashley and James Thompson. Can they put on a spectacular show and kind of appeal to the casual
the first fight
fans?
was not.
Yeah.
But it's 3 years later, and I think Bobby Lashley is much improved from that first fight. And James Thompson, I mean, it's the kind of heavyweight fight that people gravitate towards, where it's just there's a certain element to a heavyweight fight that is a reason James Thompson is continuing to have fights in his career.
And also they're teasing the winner of this could be facing Kimbo Slice. So I would imagine. Again, I don't know if that's the case, but there's been rumors of that.
You know, when you're looking at this, as we kind of talk it out, and I think about the fights that we're going to see, there's some great fights here. Michael Chandler's just a beautiful fighter. The way this guy moves, what he does, and you talk about whether, if we're curious about the perspective of can they get people to see this, can they get people to watch this guy? That guy goes to church and he's handsome. You'd want your daughter to date Michael Chandler. Tell me you can't make that work. And if you can't, maybe it's a question of how they promote. Like if we are promoting exactly the same way as we've always promoted, and we're promoting old fighters in the same way, people, oh, Kimbo Slice, he beats up guys in the backyard, bam, look what he's done. If we keep promoting like that, maybe it won't work for new people. Maybe that model has gone and you got to find a new way to do it.
To me, this number is almost as important as what Ken and Kimbo did in terms of where the audience is for these current fighters. Because 3 years from now, knock on wood, I don't think Ken Shamrock's going to be available, and Kimbo Slice probably not either, nor Tito Ortiz. These are the fighters that you need to tell the public are our stars for years to come. So that is coming up Friday night. We have lots to chat about later this week about all the fights going down this weekend, but Fight News Now Extra continues.